Okay, welcome kids and students. I'm back with the lecture number 5C. We are again talking about the space harmonics as we discussed in the 5A part. And if you remember, the deduction from 5A lecture at the end, very end was this, that if you are going to have distributed winding, you are going to have odd harmonics available inside your even if you have concentrated machine, you are going to always have the odd harmonics available over there. But yes, certainly it's going to be a square waveform if it's going to be a concentrated winding. But if it is going to be a distributed winding, then certainly the amount of harmonics are going to be reduced. But yes, they will be there. And if you technically want to have the machine to have almost zero harmonics or zero space harmonics, then you are going to have G equal to infinity. Now today's lecture, we are going to talk again about space harmonics. We are going to talk about the triplen because I missed that part over at the very end. So how the triplen is going to be equal to zero as in this a three-phase machine, we will talk about that as well. And they will talk in detail that what are the remaining odd harmonics that are actually going to be a problem for us. And then at the very end, I will talk about this one, that how these odd harmonics are actually going to add up. And then we are going to introduce the concept of crawling. And crawling is a very important concept in induction machines over there. But before we on, because all of our discussion which we are going to do today is going to be based upon these two factors, which are the pitch factor and the distribution factor. Now, if you all remember, we have talked about the winding factor a lot before in the previous first two lectures. And if you remember EPH, if you remember the formula for the machine over there, it was equal to 4.44 and it was equal to F into flux, and this was equal to some kW, and then certainly there was some TPH over there, that was the turns per phase. Now this kW was the additional term that was added over there with respect to the transformer equation. Now in transformer, since all of the axes of the windings are same, but in the induction machine or maybe inside an synchronous machine, this kW factor, which was called as the winding factor, if I write it down over here, this was the winding factor, and I told you that this factor cannot be greater than 1. In fact, it can never be equal to even 1 also, unless and until you are going towards a concentrated winding, which is technically not a good machine. So this winding factor is actually our interest at present. Now this winding factor, if I make them in two forms over there, this winding factor is actually a multiplication of two factors. One is called as the pitch factor, which we normally take as Kp, P as the subscript, and D, which is actually the distribution factor over there. And the two formulas I have written over there. I'm going to prove these two also in here in front of you. But before I go on towards to prove on this one as well. Now, what is Kp and Kd? Kp, as the name suggests, is actually the pitch factor. And whenever I'm talking about the pitch of a winding, you must have all heard about it, that there are actually two types of winding, which we call as either the full pitch winding, or the next one is called as the fractional pitch winding. Now, as the total name suggests over here, that in full pitch, your total pitch of the coil, that is actually the coil pitch over here, in a full pitch winding is going to be equal to the pole pitch. And what I mean by that, if I make a small diagram here in front of you, if I have a stator supposedly, and if I make the stator, trying to make that in a circle, and I have this stator over there, and I have a slot over here, and I also have a slot here. And supposedly, I'm not taking an example of induction machine at present. Let's just take it a simple generator. And inside this rotor, I have a small permanent magnet over there, and that permanent magnet is going to be rotated so that there is going to be an EMF induced over there. It has a north pole here, it has a south pole. So when this magnet, or maybe an electromagnet, it can be anything over here, it's going to move, and supposedly this is the A phase over there, because I'm not interested in B phase and C phase at present. So when this is going to be generating an EMF inside A and A dash, certainly it will be some cross or dot depending upon the direction of rotation. I'm not going to go in that details over there, you can do that yourself. Now this A and A dash, the coil pitch is equal to the pole pitch. Now on the other hand, over here, if I take a fractional pitch winding, and inside that fractional pitch winding, if I make it again as a stator, and that stator, this time the two windings, they are the coil ends, A and A dash, let me just call it A or A dash, whatever, and same rotor is present over there. So in this case, when it's going to be a North Pole or South Pole, this time, if I make it by another angle, this is over here, and this angle over here is not equal to 180 degrees electrical. What is electrical angle? For those who are still not accustomed to this one and not revised it from previous one, electrical angle between a North Pole and a South Pole is equal to 180 degrees over here. Here this theta angle is not equal to 180 degrees over here. This is less than 180 degrees in this case over here. So here this time the pitch of the angle over here, which we can call as the coil pitch over here, that is less than the pole pitch over here. So what is the advantage of this one? This is very important over there. And this fractional pitch versus the full pitch winding, what is the advantage? This is very important over there. Now if it is going to be a full pitch winding, certainly this means it is right in front of a North Pole, this over here. So there is going to be an EMF induced inside this one, and since this is right in front of a South Pole, and when the conductors are going to be cut by that magnetic field, it's going to have a minus E, and when you are going to find out the resultant over here, since they both are going to be added together, so this will be actually E minus, this will be minus E, and when you are going to get added together, so this will be actually 2E over there. So you are going to get a 2E output from it. This is coil pitch when it is equal to pole pitch. But when if you have a coil pitch less than pole pitch, now here the two phasors which are actually, here is going to be E also, and here it's also going to be E induced EMF, because the same number of turns are there but just a little bit at a different angle. Now over here what I am more interested in, if I just zoom in over there and I make a small angle, I am interested in this angle. This angle I can call it as theta C, and I am going to call this angle as the chording angle, which means that instead of making it full 180 degrees, by how much angle I have chorded the winding. Instead of making it a total 180 degree electrical, here in this case the coil pitch, over here in this case theta C coil pitch is equal to 180 degree electrical. Here in this case it may be like 140, 130. So what is going to be chording angle? Chording angle is actually going to be equal to 180 degrees minus whatever that theta C is. So this chording angle is actually going to be the phase difference between the two vectors that are actually going to be induced inside A and A dash vectors. For to explain, let me just take another phasor example over there. Supposedly, if I'm talking about the coil pitch versus the pole pitch, so what is happening, since they both are happening at the very same time, because when there is a North Pole in front of A, there is a South Pole in front of A dash. So what is happening, I have a vector over here A, and since they both are actually having 180 degree angle, so they both are going to have E and E, and the resultant of these two, which is actually going to be 2E, they are going to be added together over here. So you are going to get the full voltage over there. But when I have a coil pitch less than the pole pitch, here in this case, what is going to happen? Supposedly you have an E over here for the one, maybe that's A dash or A, whatever you are going to take it. And the next one is, if I'm going to add by head to tail rule, the next one is going to be also E, but they are going to be a chording angle, and this chording angle is going to be that theta C. So now in this case, now if I have this resultant to be found out, this is my resultant over here. Now how this resultant is going to be changed over there, how I'm going to find out, if I know my theta C, how can I find out that what is the ER resultant equal to? Now if I just go by the trigonometric rules over there, since this is theta C, and since this is the let me just make this a whole straight line, okay, and I have back to this one. Now this is an external angle, these two are angles over here, and since this is a totally triangle with two sides E and E, which means this is also E, this is also E over here, So the angles in opposite, they are also going to be same. And according to your theorem, if you remember from your matriculation or maybe from your A levels, this two angle sum has to be equal to theta c, because this is the exterior angle over there. So the two interior angles of a triangle, and since they both are equal, so certainly this is true that this is going to be theta c by 2. This is also going to be equal to theta c by 2. So these two angles are theta c by 2. In some books you will not find it as theta c. It is just written simple theta. It is completely true. I'm just taking c subscript over there because this is the chording angle. So over here, now if I want to find out ER, if I draw a perpendicular bisector over here. Now what I do over here, by having a perpendicular bisector, now this triangle is bifurcated into two equal triangles, because this was a triangle having two sides equal same. Now if I want to find out this length, now since this is a right angle over here, this is a right angle over here, so I know this angle theta c by 2. So can I find out, I can write down for cos theta c by 2 will be equal to the base of this. And what is this base over here? This base is equal to, supposedly this is ER by 2. So this is ER by 2, because this is exactly half of it. So this will be equal to ER by 2, and in the denominator, since that is the hypotenuse over there, so hypotenuse is E, so this will be equal to E over there. So if I just simplify this one, I can write my resultant equal to 2 times E cos of theta c by 2. So the resultant is equal to 2E cos theta c by 2, and this theta c by 2 is actually in parentheses over there. Now over here, just plug in the value of theta c and you are good to go. You will get the value of the resultant ER, because the angle by which the winding was done, that is actually the pitch factor, is going to be found out over here. Now what is pitch factor over there? Let me just introduce that one. Supposedly I am talking about Kp, which is actually the pitch factor. This Kp is actually going to be equal to the phasor sum of coil sides EMF divided by the arithmetic sum of coil side EMF. This is also coil side EMF, and this is also the arithmetic. So in the numerator, what is this? It's the phasor sum. So this means you have to put ER over there. And the arithmetic sum, since this is actually just EE and E, so this means in the denominator, so you are just going to have Kp equal to 2E. This is just being put as a numerator, this equation. So this is 2E cos theta c by 2. And in the denominator you just have 2E, because if they were just an arithmetic sum. So what is it actually? What is pitch factor? This pitch factor is actually telling you the ratio, that if the coils were full pitch, what is that voltage that is actually going to be got? That is actually going to be 2E. And if it is not full pitch, and if it is chorded by some angle theta c, then what is that arithmetic sum, or sorry, the phasor sum? That is 2E. So this 2E and 2E are cancelled. So this means Kp is equal to cos of theta c by 2. So what has happened over here? You are just having the cosine of half of that chording angle. So your Kp factor or pitch factor is not going to be dependent upon E or any other value. It's just going to be dependent on the value of the chording angle over there. Now how this chording angle is going to be important? Now supposingly this chording angle is supposedly equal to something like 60 degrees. For example, this is 60 degrees electrical over there. So just plug in this value over there. This will be cos of theta, cos of 60 divided by 2. That will be cos of theta, and that will be equal to 0.866. So what this means actually, that when you are going to have the winding having chorded by some angle, then this is going to be having a pitch factor, and that pitch factor is calculated as cos theta c by 2. Now I'm not going to go into detail that how this pitch factor is actually going to control the harmonics and all that stuff, but this pitch factor is going to be, or this chording is going to be the similar thing, that is actually the skewing that is done on the rotor to have some specific harmonics lost. we will discuss that in much detail, that how this pitch factor changes over there. We will have that harmonic number also added inside this pitch factor. But just for now, this Kp, which is actually the pitch factor, is equal to cos theta c, or simple cos theta by 2. So you have to find out the chording angle first, and that chording angle, certainly if this chording angle over here is known, this theta c is known, or maybe you know this angle of theta, which is actually this theta angle. So you can find out the chording angle over here, that is actually 180 degrees minus that theta. This is not that c over here, sorry for this one. So this is 180 degree minus that, this is also theta over there. This is not that over there. So theta is actually the electrical angle by which A and A dash are having that, and it's the electrical angle, not the mechanical angle. If it's a two-pole machine, I hope everyone has an idea that your theta electrical is equal to P by 2 theta mechanical. So if you have a number of poles equal to 2, then theta electrical is the same thing as the mechanical angle. But if you have a 4-pole machine, then electrical angle is 2 times the mechanical angle. Here in this case, I have taken a 2-pole machine. That's why the electrical angle and the mechanical angle, they both are the same. But if I had 4-pole machine, then it would have been the different thing over here. Now, this was the pitch factor. Now the next factor which we have written over here is actually the distribution factor. Now if you remember your previous lecture 5a, I have talked in much detail about this distribution over there, because this was a distributed winding, and inside that distributed winding you are going to have the distribution of slots over there, or the winding inside some slots over there. And I told you at that time that your G, which was actually the number of slots, let me call it as the number of slots per pole per phase over here. So this was G, and I told you that this G factor can be from 3 to 5 or something like that value over there. And apart from that G value, there is another variable which I am going to introduce here in this derivation for the KD over there, which is actually the distribution factor. So Q, which is actually now going to be called as the number of slots per pole, and then there is going to be an angle. This is going to be called as the gamma, and this is actually going to be called as the angular displacement between the slots. As I told you in the previous lecture, that if there are 2 slots, this is the electrical angle between the 2 slots over there. Now since you know there are Q slots per pole, so if there are Q slots per pole, so if you know the electrical angle between 2 poles, that is 180 degrees, so this gamma is actually going to be equal to 180 degrees divided by Q. So whatever that number, that is actually going to be your gamma, which is actually the angular displacement between the slots over there. So I have now 3 variables which I am going to use in this whole proof. One is G, we already know about it. This is actually the number of slots per pole per phase, and if this is greater than 1, certainly if it is going to 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe like 6 also in some cases, then this is going to be a distributed winding, and this is a distribution factor proof. So that's why this is important. Q, the capital Q, is actually the number of slots per pole. That is, supposedly you have a 2-pole machine and you have like 36 slots. So that Q factor for per pole is actually going to be 18. If you have 36 slots, so certainly 18 slots in front of one pole and 18 in front of the other. And gamma over here is actually the angular displacement between the slots over there. So what is happening over here, that if gamma is the angular displacement between the slots, so if I'm going to make a small stator, let me just make a small stator over here. Let me just choose another color over here. So if I have a stator, and if that stator is like this, and supposedly I'm not going to make 36 slots over here. 36 slots is a big number. Let's just make it equal to some like 18 slots over there. So for 18 slots I will have to make like let me just make the first slots over here first. So this is going to be 1, 2, and let me just take 3 over here first, so I can then increase that number somehow. And this is a little off over here, so I'm just going to make it over here. And now this is 6, so this means with each slot I am going to actually increase it by 3 times. So this means I am going to have 1 here, 2 here, and 3 here, 1 here, 2 here, 3 here, 1 here, 2 here, and 3 here. So I'm just increasing it to 18. So this is again 3, this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. So these over here in this machine, SS is equal to 18 over here. Now, if supposingly this is a distributed winding, if this was A and certainly this was A dash, and since this time this is SS is equal to 18, the number of phases in this machine is 3, and the number of G value which I am going to take over here, supposedly that is equal to also 3. So can this be giving me the number of poles over there? So can give me this be over here? What is G? G is the number of slots. So this is the number of slots divided by the number of poles, and this is also divided by the number of phases. So if I know my G, which is equal to 3, and I know my number of slots, this is 18, and over here this is the number of poles over here, and I'm dividing, this is the number of poles, this is already not known. So I know how many number of poles are there. This can be easily here. So the number of poles over here can be very easily equal to 2 over there, because if this is 2, so this is going to be divided by 9, and then the 9 divided by 3, this is going to be equal to 3 over there. So the number of poles over here is equal to 2. So this is a very simple machine. So when this is equal to distributed winding, so this is also going to be a slot, this is also going to be a slot, and then afterwards certainly this is also going to be a dash, this is also going to be a dash. So for each phase you are going to have 6 slots covered over there, and certainly since this is going to be, since this was a it will be just simply let me just talk about in terms of the delta sorry, the gamma angle over here. Now how many 360 degrees are there, and since this is a two-pole machine and theta electrical is equal to P by 2 theta mechanical, so in this one theta electrical is equal to theta mechanical. So what is happening over here, this is the whole 360 degrees. The angle between this slot and this slot is going to be equal to 20 degrees electrical over here, and also 20 degrees mechanical also, because in this particular machine your theta electrical is equal to theta mechanical. And I hope I don't need to repeat over here for this case that if you are going to have an A phase, then certainly B phase would be 120 degree apart from here, and 120 degree means that you are going to have 6 slots in between. So this is going to be 20, then this is going to be 40, 60, 80, 100, and 120. So this means that you are going to have the sorry, 80, 100, and this is going to be 120 over here. So this is going to be again, so let me just check it down. This is 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, and this is 120. So this is going to be B, and let me just use another color. I hope I am using the use color. Yes, this is B. This is also going to be B. This is also going to be B over here, and similarly you are going to have B dash and all that stuff over here. So you are going to have this arrangement of A dash, B dash, and C dash in this whole strategy. The point over here is this, that the two slots which are just close to each other, which I'm talking over here, the two slots A and A dash, they are going to have an EMF induced inside them, and they are going to have an angle between their EMF equal to gamma over there, and that gamma in this case is equal to 20 degrees over here. So this gamma is important for us, and based on the value of G, here in this case the value of G is equal to 3, so certainly this means that there are going to be 3 vectors added, in fact 6 vectors added, 3 from this one, 3 from the other ones, and you are going to have all of those added together. Now okay, now what I have now just drawn over here, in fact this is actually just a skit from the some notes over there. Since I'm trying to do a journal proof over here, I don't know the value of G. It can be 3, it can be 4, it can be 5, it can be going on to a very large value also. So I need to find out that for a journal value of G, how I'm going to find out the distribution factor over there. And what is distribution factor? Because instead of having a concentrated winding, now I have 3, 4, maybe 5, or maybe 6 number of slots over there. So I have distributed the winding in 6 slots, 7 slots, or maybe even larger than that. And what is gamma over here? Gamma is the angular displacement between the two slots, which is actually the electrical angle between the two slots over there. Now, this diagram, as you can see over here, these are all the vectors which are going to be EMF induced inside one phase over there, which are maybe like all the vectors which are going to be induced in A phase. So if this is the A phase over here, this is one vector, then this is the other vector over there, and then this is the other vector over there, then this is the other vector over there, and all of these vectors, since are just four shown over there, and here this is just an imaginary line. This imaginary line is just over here because there can be a lot of vectors over here. I have just shown over here four vectors, and these four vectors, they all have a difference of gamma angle between themselves. And how this gamma angle over here is it, if you can see over here, if I join these lines over here from this point A, C, D, E and F, and certainly, and this will be an endpoint at B also. So if I join all of these points, they all will be having a central point at O over here, and this O over here, and if I make this lines over here, you can see the difference between this point C and point D. This angle over here is telling you that this is actually equal to gamma. This angle is also telling you that this is also equal to gamma over there. Now, this is the simple representation, since we don't know at present what is the value of G, because we are doing it for a general value of G. Now, what is KD over here, which is actually the distribution factor? Now, if I want to go in the distribution factor, this is a simple definition over there. I can read it out for you. The ratio, just like for the pitch factor we did it, the ratio of the phasor sum of the EMFs induced in all the coils distributed in the number of slots under one pole. Okay? This is under one pole, not in front of the south pole, because we have already taken them into the pitch factor. If you remember the pitch factor, what we did in the pitch factor, if I take you back over there, we had taken it in front of the north pole, and we had also taken it in front of the south pole. So the addition of two ones, we have already taken them into effect. If it is a full pitch winding, which is actually a coil pitch equal to pole pitch, we have taken that into consideration. If it is a fractional pitch, which means that the coil pitch is going to be less than the pole pitch, we have already taken that into account using the pitch factor, which is actually Kp over here. Now, what I am more interested in, I am only interested in that these three, which is over here in this case G equal to 3, how the EMF is going to be distributed in three of them. So we know electrically they are 20 degrees apart from each other. So this means that the angle between these three EMFs induced inside these three slots is going to be E, which are going to be 20 degrees apart. Now for a general case over here, since we don't know the value of G, this time I have shown over here like four conductor or four vectors over here, or four phasors, and this is a dotted line showing you that this can be extended to a large number of G value, maybe 5, maybe 6, or even maybe like 10 something if you are designing something over here. So all these lengths of these vectors AC, CD, DE, EF, all these vectors, they are having a common point over here, and this common point over here is O, and the angle which they are subtending at over here. So the angle AOC or COD or DOE, they are all having that angle gamma over there, because gamma, what is that gamma? Gamma is the angular displacement between. So what is distribution factor? Distribution factor, or it is also called as the Brett factor, under one pole, it is actually the EMF induced in a distributed winding, which means this is the phasor sum, just like we did it for the pitch factor, and the denominator, this is the EMF induced if the winding would have been concentrated. By what I mean by that, that instead of having all of these three slots separated by 20 degrees over there, or the conductors which were in here, the conductors which were in here, which were in here, instead of making them distributed, all of them were best placed in one slot. So what will happen? They will have no EMF induced displaced by some vector angle, that is 20 degrees in this case. So it will be a concentrated winding. So it will not be a distributed winding. So in this case, in the denominator, so this is the arithmetic sum. So this is just the arithmetic sum over here for the all the vectors over here. Now how I am going to find out the phasor sum, because this is a total general proof over here, this is very important. Now if you concentrate on this Okay, now we want to find out the arithmetic sum and also the phasor sum from this diagram. Now over here, if you see the vector AC and vector CD, they have an angle between themselves of having gamma angle, and that gamma angle is there because there is an angular displacement between the two slots which is present over there. Now we need to find out the resultant. And what is that resultant? That resultant is actually the sum of AC plus CD plus DE plus EF and so on, any vector. So this means we need to find out A and B. So this means we need to find out A, B vector somehow, which is actually the resultant over here in this case. Now we want to find out the resultant. But before that, we also need to find out what is the length of this AC vector. This is also important over here. Now for that purpose, we are going to draw the bisectors of these all EMFs which are EE over here. Now if you draw the bisectors over here, as we have drawn over here in this case, this is a bisector over here, which is actually going to bisect this vector of phasor AC into two angles, which is actually gamma by 2 over here on one side, gamma by 2 on one side, and similarly bisectors are drawn from each vector over here onto the point O over here. Now if you see this triangle, let me make this triangle a little visible for you. So if we are trying to talk about this triangle, supposedly, because this is a right angle triangle now, right angle triangle because this is 90 degrees over here. So if I am interested in, let me just make it another color. So if I am interested in the value of AC over here, what is AC? AC is half of AE. But can I find out by using the sine of this angle, what is sine of gamma by 2? Over here, I am talking about this shaded triangle, sine gamma by 2. This will be equal to what is actually perpendicular over there. Perpendicular is AE. And what is AE over here? AE is actually E by 2 over there. Or you can call it as the, let me just talk it out in terms of this is actually AE initially. I will just make it in the other expression. And over here, what is the hypotenuse over here? This is OA. Now, if I just rearrange it, and this can be written as, so this is sine gamma by 2 equal to what is AE, or A half of that line. This is actually E by 2. And here, I have it over here as OA. So from here, can I find out very easily that my EC or E of the coil, let me call it not E, I'm calling it EC. So you can just change this values to over here. This is EC, this is EC, this is EC, and this is EC. So from here, what is EC? EC over here is equal to 2 times OA sine of gamma by 2. What is this value? This is the value of 1 EMF induced inside one slot over there. Now why I have found out this one? Because when we are trying to find out the arithmetic sum, we are just going to multiply this EC by what? By the number of slots per pole per phase. And what is that value? That is equal to G. So if I just take on over there and I have this arithmetic sum over there, so in the denominator over here, I am just going to write it over here. What is the number of slots per pole per phase? That is G. And I am going to multiply this by 2 multiplied by OA into sine gamma by 2 over here. And this is the very same, just like I have done over here. So this is 2OA sine gamma by 2. And since I need to find out in the denominator the arithmetic sum, if we were concentrated. So I just multiplied it by G. What is G? G in our case in this diagram which I just showed you, this was equal to 3. So number of slots per pole per phase was equal to 3. So over here G was equal to 3. Now here in a general case, because I am doing it for a general proof over here, so this is equal to G over here. Now I need to find out the phasor sum. And what is that phasor sum? As I just told you previously also, the phasor sum is AB. How I can find out this AB? Now for AB, if AB is the phasor sum over there, when all of these vectors, which is are this EC, this EC, this EC, DC, and any other ACs, when they are going to combine themselves, this AB is actually going to be a vector or a phasor, and they are actually having a triangle over here, which triangle is OAB triangle. Now this is not a right angle triangle over there, but if at this O point I am going to draw a circle. This is a very important one over there. This is coming from the geometry one. So this has to be taken very carefully. So if I draw a circle at point O with the circle over here, these these vectors which are EC over there, they will be actually chords of that circle. This is very important over there because when I'm going to draw a circle over there, these AC, CD or DE or EF, they are all going to be chords on a circle. And I hope I don't need to revise that what is a chord. If I have a circle over there, a chord is having 2 points joined together in such a way that it is not passing through the center of that circle, then that's actually a chord over there. So similarly over here, if this is a circle, maybe a half part of a circle as shown over here, or maybe less than that even. So AC, CD, DE, EF, and similarly, if there are more vectors over there, they are going to be chords over here. Now I am interested in the length AB over here. Now for AB length, when I am going to have all these vectors over there, I can have the vector over here in this triangle. I have to make a right angle triangle or a bisector of this angle, which is going to be some value. I will just talk about it. And I need to find out this triangle, which means that I need to find out or have some trigonometric identity on this right angle triangle, and I'm going to make this one by having a right angle bisector over here at this one. Now what is this right angle bisector? It is going to make AB into half, certainly, and the angle, what is that angle over there? Because each of this angle was gamma, so how many are there in this total one? They are equal to G gamma over here. This is not Q written over here. You can change this one over here. This is Q or G gamma. So the total angle is G gamma over there because there are G number of slots per pole per phase. So there will be like G number of vectors over there, and when they will be subtending an angle at point O, this will be equal to G gamma. So when I am going to have a right angle bisector over here, so G gamma is going to be divided by 2. But I mean by that, if I make it another color, so this angle over here, this angle is going to be G gamma by 2 for this right angle triangle. This angle is already 90. So now you can find out again this length over here. I can call this as, supposedly this is OAX. So if I want to find out AX, what is that AX equal to? Let me just change the color. So AX is equal to, over here I have to use some sign trigonometry again over here. So if I, let me just make another one. So over here I have this triangle. So what is sine G gamma by 2 over here? So this is G gamma by 2 over here. So what is the sine G gamma by 2? This will certainly going to be equal to the perpendicular over here, and this perpendicular is actually going to be AB by 2, or you can call it AX, whatever you want to call it, but I'm just using AB by 2 because this is just half of it. And in the denominator, I'm going to have the hypotenuse, and that will be equal to OA. Very simply OA over there. So what this is telling me, that my OAB, let me just call it AB, which is actually the resultant, this is going to be equal to 2 times your OA, and here it will be sine G gamma by 2 over here. So what is AB? AB is the resultant of all the vectors over here, and all this vector is going to be just equal to 2OA. Now you can see, if I just put this one over here in this formula over here, this is equal to 2 times OA. Let me just get back to on this one. This is OA sine G gamma by 2. This is dresses over here. Now you can see over here, this OA and OA are cancelled, so it has no dependency on any other variable, and this 2 and this 2 are being cancelled. So what is now this is equal to? This is equal to, very simply, sine G gamma by 2 and in the denominator you have G sine gamma by 2. And this is the very same factor Kd, which is actually going to be written in the very start. I wrote this formula Kd, that was the distribution factor. So Kd was equal to sine G gamma by 2, and this was in the denominator you had G sine gamma by 2. Now let me just solve one numerical here right very fastly in front of you, so you have an idea what I'm actually talking about. Here it's a very small numerical. You can see this is a 36 slot machine. It's a single layer machine, so there is not any double layer. We will talk in much detail afterwards that what is a double layer winding. So first of all, number of slots per pole. You have to find out the number of slots per pole. As I told you, this Q, this will be equal to how many poles are there, 36, 4 poles, and how many slots are there, 36. So this means there are going to be 36 divided by 4. This number will be equal to 9. So the capital Q is equal to 9. And how many number of slots per pole per phase? You just have to divide that, and this is actually G. This is the same thing over there. So this is going to be 9 divided by 3 because this is a 3-phase machine. This is 3. Angular displacement between the slots, this is very important over there. So because you are going to have this gamma, this will be equal to 180 degrees. What is 180 degrees? It is the angular angle or electrical angle between two poles. So this is the angular electrical angle between two poles, that is 180 degrees. And how many slots are there between two poles? We already know that, and that value is Q over here, or 9, and you just write it down as 180 degrees divided by 9, and this is equal to 20 degrees. So this is exactly the same thing, the same over here which I drew in front of you. So this was equal to 20 degrees over there. But in the previous case, the diagram I drew in front of you, it was a two-pole machine. Remember this? This was a two-pole machine. It was 18 slots. So electrical angle was 20 degrees, or the gamma angle was 20 degrees. But in this one, it's a 36 pole machine, 4 pole. So that's why the angle gamma is coming out to be very same. Now, if you want to find out the distribution factor here this time, this will be sine, sorry about this one, this is G. I have changed this one, this is G. Please don't confuse yourself with this Q. Actually, we have been using this variable as G, so that's why I have changed this one as Q. Sorry, G over here. So this is sine, and I have this G gamma by 2. And what is G over here? G is equal to 3. And what is gamma over here? This is already 20. So I'm going to have 3 into 20 divided by 2. And in the denominator, I will have again 3 out. And in the inside, I will have again 20 degrees by 2. So this will be equal to, if I just manipulate this one, this is 10. And this is again 10 over there. So this will be actually equal to sine of 30. And in the denominator I will have 3, and I will have sine of 10 degrees. So this comes out to be, if I just do some mathematics myself on a calculator, this comes out to be 0.96. And in no way this formula of Kd, which we have just done just now, can give a value greater than 1, because always the phasor sum is always going to be less than, so it's no way the numerator can have a value greater than 1 over there. So this two factors Kp and Kd, they both multiply and they give rise to the winding factor, which you have been taking as something sometimes at 0.955 or something different over there. So this Kw is the winding factor, that is actually the pitch factor, Kp and Kd, which is actually the distribution factor over there. Now I hope you can find out the pitch factor and the distribution factors very easily if the number of slots, the chording angle and all that stuff has been given to you. This Kp and Kd can be found out very easily. Now the same formula which we have just done now, which is actually the Kp, Kd, I'm talking about the Kd stuff. Now Kd, the formula which is just written over there, that was equal to sine G gamma by 2, and here this was G sine gamma by 2. This is a simple formula, and this is for the fundamental. This is very important because this has been taken for the very fundamentals which are present inside the induction machine. Please remember, I am now moving on towards the harmonics or the space harmonics, because these two proofs are very important for the harmonics over there, because some harmonics, I told you in the previous lecture, they are going to be cancelled, and I told you they are going to be the triplen harmonics. Triplen harmonics are those harmonics which are going to be the multiples of 3. So normally sometimes they are called as triplen harmonics. So these are actually 3 6 is already not there because this is even, and so this will be 9. Again, 12 is not going to be there because this is an even harmonic, and then there is going to be 15. So any multiples of 15 which are not even, they are going to be called as triplet harmonics inside induction machine. And I'm just going to prove it here in front of you that this triplet harmonics, this KD factor, is not going to make it appear inside any of the three-phase machines over here. Okay, now you have this distribution factor over here for the fundamental. The same distribution factor, if I write it down for the harmonics. Now I'm not going to prove that here in front of you. You can do that for with the harmonics over there, but it's a little bit above the pay scale at present. But so the proof, the KTN, where n is the order of that harmonic, this will be equal to sine n into g gamma by 2, and here in the denominator this will be g sine n gamma by 2 over here. So here in this equation, so you can see if I have an nth harmonic here in front of you, so you are going to have this n over here. Now this n, since I'm talking about the triplet harmonic, this can have a value of 3, 9, 15, and so on. So I'm talking about the third multiple, ignoring the even harmonics over there. Now whenever a machine is being designed, as I told you, whenever we have talked about the stator machine, we have taken this G value. It can go from any value from 3 to 5, or maybe something like sometimes 6 over there. For example, what is this G? This is actually the number of slots per pole per phase. So when I'm having a triple harmonic over there, and I have a machine supposedly which is equal to something 6, and let's just take an example that it was the previous value where gamma was equal to something like 20 over there, and this is a very simple machine where g is equal to 6, which means that it's actually a stepped waveform. And if you plug in the values in this equation, so what happens, this kdn equation, this comes out to be this equal to sine n is still not known because I'm just trying to have a harmonic distribution factor. And since j is equal to 6, so this is equal to 6 into 20, this is equal to 120, and if I divide it by that one, so this is equal to something 60 degrees over here. And in the denominator, since g is already known, this is equal to 6, and in here I have over here sine, and n is already still not known, so I can't write it down, and this is equal to n into 10 degrees. Now this factor over here is very simple. As you can see over there, if n is equal to 3, or it's equal to 9, or it's equal to 11, or it goes on to some other higher value, when you are going to multiply that n by 60, supposedly if it is equal to 3, and I'm trying to find out k d for the third harmonic, so this is going to be sine into 3 into 60 degrees, and over here this is going to be sine 6 sine into 30 degrees. Now what is 3 into 60 degrees? This is 180 degrees. So sine of 180 is 0. So this means that the distribution factor for the third harmonic is going to be 0, because this is 180 degrees and sine of 180 is 0. So what this means, that the third harmonic is not going to be produced altogether inside the machine if I am going to have this value of G and gamma. Now I've just proved it here in front of you that this value of G and gamma is always going to be there inside a three-phase machine. How? Now if you have a three-phase machine, which means that there are going to be some number of slots over there which are always going to be a multiple of 3, because it's a three-phase machine. So the value of G, it can be 3, it can be 4, it can be 5, it can be 6 or whatever. But keeping in view that inside the whole 360 degrees of the machine, if there are 3 phases, what is this factor that is actually G gamma over here? This G gamma, what is G? G is the number of slots per pole, let me just write it down, per phase. And what is gamma? This is the angular, let me write it down, this is the angular, sorry, this is the angular displacement between two slots. So when you are multiplying G by gamma, you are actually trying to find out that how much angle the slots are taking which are under one pole under one phase. Now supposingly what is G gamma? Even if you are designing a value with G very small, maybe like 2 or 3 even, then this G gamma is always going to be equal to something 120 degrees. So 120 degrees over there divided by 2, you're always going to arrive at 60 degrees over there. You can take different values of the number of slots per pole per phase and find out the angular displacement between the two slots based on the same assumption. You will find out that G gamma by 2 is always going to be, G gamma is going to be 120 degrees, G gamma by 2 is going to be 60 degrees. So you will arrive at that the KD3, or it can be KD9, or it can be KD11. These all are going to be 3. And when this distribution factor is going to be equal to 0, this means that your EPH3, where here 3 again is subscript, is actually the third harmonic EMF that is actually going to be produced or induced inside the rotor or the stator over here as back EMF. This is again equal to 4.44. F is the frequency, then flux, and then I have the TPH over there, and then I have the KW factor. And what was KW factor? That was KP3 into KD3. Now because this factor has gone to 0, all of this term has gone to 0. So this is the main reason that inside an induction machine, the triplen harmonics, which are actually the multiples of 3, are 0. So what happens now, if I go back to my previous lecture of space harmonics, and I told you that because of that MMF waveform that was actually a stepped waveform, you are going to have odd harmonics over there. And I told you at that time that odd harmonics, apart from that fundamental, it's going to be the third, then the fifth, then the seventh, and then the ninth, and then it was 11, and then it was 13 and 15 and so on. Now out of these ones, the triple harmonics are not there. So third, ninth, 15th, they're already not there. So any three-phase machine, you are not going to get those triple harmonics inside this machine. Yes, subject to condition, there are some cases in which you can have the triple harmonics, which can be there because when this factor is not going to be equal to 60 degrees over there, that is actually G gamma by 2 over there. So when this triplet harmonics are not there, the harmonics which are present are actually, if I write it down, the harmonics which are present inside your machine are going to be called as 5, 7th, 11th, 13th, and so on. It can be afterwards, it can be like the 17th and the 19th over there. So certainly you can have a lot amount of harmonics. Now this number of harmonics, so the harmonics even are not there because it is symmetrical waveform for the MMF, or triplet harmonics are not there because the distribution factor for them is going to be 0 for the triplet harmonics. So the only harmonics which are represented or are present inside the MMF waveform are 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, and 19, and so on. And as you all know, since you are students of power electronics previously and Fourier series, that as you are going to increase the harmonic number, that value or their relative strength is going to be decreased down a lot. Now this is a talk about 5, 7, 11, but the main talk is actually about this 5th, 7th, and 11th and 13th harmonic, because 17th and 19th, they are not going to be that much available. Yes, they are going to be there and they are going to produce some harmonic induction torque. Remember the last lecture, I left you at the point of harmonic induction torques. Now what is going to happen over here? The harmonic induction torques 5, 7, 11, and 13, or 17 and 8, 19, they are going to produce their EMFs inside the rotor. They are revolving inside the stator also. So the MMF, we wanted it to be just composed of one frequency, and that was revolving with some speed ns over there. But what has happened now, they are now harmonics which are revolving with a very different speed. Now I've not talked about them at present, but over here this is the 5th, the 7th, the 11th, and the 13th harmonic over here. Now I can bifurcate this one into two types of harmonics. One harmonic I can call it as 6m minus 1, and the other one I can call it 6m plus 1. Now what I mean by this 6m and 6m plus 1, I mean by this, if supposedly the value of m is increasing and it is going from 1, 2, 3, and so on, you can increase it further. But here, if I put the value of m over here, this is very important. If I put the value of m over here in this formula, this is 6 into 1 minus 1, so this is actually the fifth harmonic. And if I put 1 over here, this is the seventh harmonic. Now here I know this is the 11th harmonic, and then this is the 13th harmonic, and then if I put in over here 3 over here, this is the 17th harmonic, and this is the 19th harmonic. Now 6m minus 1 category is totally different from 6m plus 1. Now how they are different, this is a very important point over here. Now the fifth harmonic and the seventh harmonic, I will have my focus only on these two harmonics at present, because the fifth and the seventh harmonics, they are the most important ones inside induction machine, and they are going to produce a lot amount of harmonic induction torques over there. But are those torques going to be positive or negative? This is very important. And what I mean by positive and negative means that the fundamental is trying to move the machine in clockwise direction. Let's just take a reference that the fundamental is trying to move the machine in the positive direction or clockwise direction. So will this fifth harmonic and seventh harmonic also try to move it in the clockwise direction, which I have taken as a reference? This has to be found out. Now what I know by fifth and seventh harmonic. By fifth and seventh harmonic, I hope everyone has an idea that whenever we use the words phase sequence, what I mean by that phase sequence. Supposingly, if I have the fundamental in my discussion at present, this is my A phase, this is my B phase, and this is my C phase. So I am having my phase sequence calculated like this. So certainly this angle between A and B is 120 degree. Between B and C, it's also 120 degree. And if I measure between A and C, that will be 240 degrees over there. This is the fundamental. Very easy. No, nothing problem over there. These are all balanced supplies coming on from the source. It may be Vabra source or it may be a Lesco source, whatever, and they are completely balanced with all the voltages and the phase angles equal over here. Now because of the space harmonics, you have given rise to the fifth harmonic and the seventh harmonic. Now the fifth harmonic, as we all know, it is a harmonic which is having a frequency 5 times more than the fundamental. And what is the fundamental frequency over there? The fundamental frequency over there is a 50 hertz over there. So now the fifth harmonic, which is going to be produced over there inside the MMF waveform, and that MMF waveform is going to be present inside the air gap, and that air gap is going to be giving the flux towards the rotor. So there is an EMF induced over there. But before it goes on towards the rotor, one thing that has to be found out very carefully is this, that this fifth harmonic, if I draw its phase sequence over here, since when I will draw it, this is going to be my A phase. This is this reference over there. Then the next phase, that is actually B over there. In fact, let me just make this a little smaller. This is my A phase over here. Now the B phase is, we all know, it's going to have a 120 degree angle over there. But since this is the fifth harmonic and this is going to be flowing at a different speed over there, so the phase difference between A and B this time is going to be 120 degrees multiplied by 5. Now 120 degrees multiplied by 5 is equal to 600 degrees. Now 600 degrees, if I take it on over there, which means that I have to count 120 degrees 5 times. So if I see on this one, let me just use another color for over here. So from A, I go to B, this is 1. Then from B to C, I go to this is 2. Then I go to this with 3. Then this is 4. And then I go to this one 5. So this means that my B phase is now at the position of C phase. And if I do the same calculation for my C phase, I know that is going to be 240 degrees multiplied by 5. So certainly this is going to be coming out over here for the C phase. Now, this is very important. What has happened over here, the fundamental and the fifth harmonic, they both are having this one again 120, this one also 120, this one also 120, but the phase sequence has changed. In the fundamental, the phase sequence is A, B and C, and in the fifth harmonic, the fundamental, if I count it again in the clockwise direction, the phase sequence is A, C and B. Now, if you remember, in induction machine, you can change the direction of rotation of the machine by changing the phase sequence. So what has happened over here, because of the fifth harmonic, the machine is going to produce a revolving magnetic field inside the air gap, which is going to revolve in the opposite direction. This is very important. I'm repeating it again. The fundamental is trying to move the machine in the clockwise direction. That's actually a revolving magnetic field with a speed ns over there. And the fifth harmonic, which has been produced because of the space harmonic, it's trying to move the machine or the revolving field with a little bit less strength. Certainly, we will talk about that strength later on. So this is moving with some speed. I'm not going to talk about that speed at present. We will prove it in the next lecture most probably. But it is moving in the opposite direction because the phase sequence has changed from ABC to ACB. And if I do the same calculation for maybe the seventh harmonic over here, you will find out that for the seventh harmonic, the phase sequence remains the same. There is no change over there. The phase sequence over here again remains the same, ABC. So for the fifth harmonic, it is going to produce, in general words, it's going to produce a negative torque because it's moving in the opposite direction. And the seventh harmonic, it is moving in the positive direction because it has the same phase sequence as the fundamental. So if I go back on this table now, this easily tells you that this negative sign is telling you that this harmonic is going to oppose the fundamental, and when it is positive sign, this harmonic is actually going to be added or some detrimental effect. We will talk about that later on. But this harmonic, which is actually the seventh harmonic, is trying to move in the positive direction over here. At present, I have not talked about anything going inside the rotor at present. I am talking about only the space harmonics which are being produced because of the MMF produced inside the air gap, and that MMF is a stepped structure or a stepped MMF waveform or trapezoidal waveform, and it is composed of the 5th, 7th, 11th, 13th, 17th, 19th and so on. But I am more interested in the first four harmonics, which is actually 5, 7, 11 and 13, because they are the first four ones. The next ones to carry on forward, they are going to have a lesser length over there. So I'll stop over here just now for this part of the lecture. So what we have done just today, we have talked about that triplet harmonics are not present because of that distribution factor being going to equal to 0, or actually the phase spread of the winding being equal to 0. And 6m minus 1 gives us those harmonics which are being produced because of the space, and they are moving in the opposite direction. This negative sign, and I just proved it over there that the phase sequence changes over there from the fundamental, and 6m plus 1 is actually producing those harmonics which are in the same direction as the fundamental. Thank you. I will just come back with another portion of this one where we are going to discuss what are the speeds of these harmonics, and we are going to talk about how these harmonics are going to be detrimental, and we will talk about the crawling concept over there. Thank you.